Welcome here. 2014 PSP Dallas Open is about to go down. I'm Matty Marshall alongside Steve Rabackoff and Todd Martinez. The season is now upon us. The stage is set. So much craziness in the offseason, boys. And that's what we want to talk about here before this before the tournament actually gets going, is all the crazy moves and all the narratives and all the interesting stories behind these teams that we're about to watch play. Man, there's a lot that's going to go on this weekend. We're going to start to find out some answers and see which team should be in the hunt, not only for the win here in Dallas, but also eventually for the 2014 Series Championship. Last year, that was won by San Diego Dynasty. They squeaked it out at the end. They did not have a great performance at World Cup. They actually got shut out in 2 games, but they held on and were able to get the most coveted title in paintball, other than the World Cup victory, which goes to San Antonio. We went to San Antonio X Factor. So we're going to get to see those 2 teams as well as the top 10 teams in the Challengers Division, and then a few games from the Champions, and then as well as the Challengers Division. It's going to be a crazy weekend. Todd, let's talk about Dynasty first to start out, the 2013 PSP Series Champions. What do you think about their chances this season? They didn't make many roster changes, but big news, they did lose Rusty Glaze as their coach.
Yeah, they lost Rusty Glaze a couple weekends ago when they were out there practicing Infamous. Looked pretty solid. It looked like it was a good practice against Infamous. It was kind of rainy out there, but both teams are winning some games. Dynasty was out here again this morning getting some last-minute preparation in, and they look solid. They look like the same team that they were last year. I think it's very important for that team to get off to a hot start, so look for them to come out here blazing right away. I think that they want to show that the loss of Dalton Vanderbilt is not going to hurt them, and they do have the Top Gun winner Oliver Lang from last year coming right back after a long vacation. I think that the biggest thing for all these teams is everybody had that big long break. It's the first tournament of the year. Everybody's hungry. Everybody's ready to get the season going again, and San Diego Dynasty is very important for them to get off to a fast start, so I look for them to come out here firing right away.
Rab, knowing Rusty Glaze as well as you do, having played with him for years and seeing the impact that he had on San Diego Dynasty last season and how well he guided that team, how much of an impact do you think it is going to be not having him around as their coach?
I mean, look, they won the season title last year with Rusty. Rusty's experienced player, as we all know, and I think it's going to be a big loss. On the flip side of that is Dynasty has a lot of experience. So they're going to get through this. They'll battle through. They'll be fine. But losing Rusty and Dalton, I think it's going to test them right away. But again, it's Dynasty, and they still have some seasoned veterans that know what they're doing.
Yeah, and their first game is going to be going down 10:30 here Texas time. San Diego Dynasty versus Chicago Aftershock, and then also on Friday they play the Ironman to close out the morning bracket. So let's move on to the Ironman. Todd, what do you feel about the Ironman's chances? Lots of changes for them. They merged with Royalty, brought Shane Pestana over, still trying to figure out their lineup and who's going to actually start. I mean, I'm sure they got it figured out by now, but with all the guys that they had, and you got a chance to practice them, how do you think the Ironman are going to do this season?
Yeah, Omaha Vicious flew out 2 consecutive weekends out to Southern California, and we played the Ironman in their first couple practices together with the new merger with Royalty. And I think that the type of field layouts that we've been seeing over the past 5 events, 6 events, being a really wide open field that really encourages people to get up and attack is really going to play well for the Ironman. I think it was just a matter of those guys coming together and learning how to play together. But a lot of those guys that came from Royalty had been on the Ironman at one point. Toke Hamill, Chris Catt. These kids know how to play together, and they're all, kind of the same thing that we expected from them last year when Alex Goldman and Marcelo Margot came back to the Ironman. A younger, hungry, fast, aggressive team. And the way that these layouts are, and now that they have more faster, smaller guys, I think this field's actually going to really play well for them. But I think that they're starting to gel. They haven't missed a weekend of practice. They've been traveling together. Having that good, strong team bond is huge to be successful. So I really like the Ironman as well. I mean, there's going to be hard for me to find a team that I really don't like the dynamic of what they've got going on and what they've put together in the offseason, but the Ironman could be very exciting to watch this year.
Yeah, and 2 of the best players in the game in Alex Goldman and Marcelo Margot. Marcelo Margot's been fighting for that Top Gun title for 2 years. He lost it again at the World Cup this year. But still, very exciting players to see them do their thing out here. And I really want to see how that Brandon Cornell kid, 17-year-old Brandon Cornell, really stunning in practice in the offseason and looked like he might have earned a starting spot. We will see as the Ironman will play Omaha Vicious to start it out, and then they will play San Diego Dynasty in the morning bracket. And then again, also the big news for the Ironman is Shane Pestana coming back to captain that team. Shane's never touched an Ironman squad and didn't eventually win tournaments. So, how long is it going to take him? We're just going to have to find out. So let's talk about Houston Heat real quick. Houston Heat playing at 9:45 against Omaha Vicious for their first game of the tournament, and then they're going to take on Chicago Aftershock. Steve, what do you think about Houston Heat, seeing that you were the one that back in the day actually originally came up with Houston Heat and they had to kind of ask for your blessing, but I think that they've done really well, man. 4 tournaments out of 10.
They've kept the name going well. I think at the end of the season and then during that 2-month period where guys are jumping around teams, I think everyone's like, wow, Houston Heat lost all the Russian players. What are they going to do? Well, they picked up Thomas Taylor. They got some of the guys from Impact, Ryan Moorhead, Tim Montressor. So I think Houston Heat, on this layout, they have a lot of speed. I think they're going to be fine. I think, and with Vicious, I'm curious to see who we're going to see. The beginning of the year Vicious or the end of the year? Who are we going to see?
Hopefully we'll see a whole new Vicious. A lot more aggressive, a lot more attacking. But, that Houston Heat game, I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a good one.
You couldn't pick. Sorry to interrupt you. We couldn't pick for both teams to come out like that. The pressure's on. They got to get that game. Houston Heat's trying to say, hey, we're not done without the Russians. We're here, and Omaha Vicious wants to say, hey, we're here for good too.
Well, I think that's one of the most. Every single tournament, every game you play, it's just a proving ground. It's a big test. And with all the roster changes on all these big teams, I mean, they're really, other than I'd say Dynasty, but then they lost Rusty as their captain and Dalton, one of their best players, and even Damage, though they maintain, but they still have some stuff. We'll get to them in a second. But that is why this event is going to be so fascinating. So make sure you let all your friends know at home. Tune in to the webcast. We're going to keep breaking some more of these games down here for you guys. Also, this is going to be new for this year, but we're charging for the webcast on Sunday. Very important that you guys help contribute. We're trying to do all we can to help progress this sport forward, and now it's up to you. We guys need your help in order to try to keep moving this forward and keep progressing the game, because the PSP, over 170 teams here. Everything's looking really good, but in order to keep bringing you these internet broadcasts, we need your help. We need your support. So let's talk about Chicago Aftershock. They are in the Champions Division finally. Legendary team. Coach Mikey Bruno done a real good job of kind of bringing these divisional players up. They have Carl Markowski back from retirement last year, one of the fastest players in the game. We always talk about him. What do you guys think about Aftershock's chances? They got some hard games here.
Well, I think Aftershock picking up the players that they did at the end of last year, Chris Sosi and Carl Markowski, I think really added some confidence to those other players that we had been watching over the past few seasons that were trying to come up, trying to get used to playing in the league, get that experience. And, Mikey Bruno, there's no quitting that guy. He has nothing but, pedal to the metal all times. We're going to see crazy breakouts, game plans from them. And, if those guys hit their shots and they're feeling confident, they're not scared to attack. And, again, this field layout, especially here, first event in Dallas at the beginning of the year, nobody wants to go down to the Challengers Division, first event. So Chicago Aftershock, I expect to see a lot of crazy stuff from them. But, when after the breakout and bodies are walking out all over the place, are they going to have enough intelligence and communication to be able to finish games?
I think that's a good point, because that's been their problem. That focus in those chaotic situations. And I think on this layout, let's talk about the layout real quick. This layout is going to be fast, going to be wild and crazy. That snake is going to be a bloodbath snake. It's going to be pretty crazy. And in those teams that are able to utilize the aggressive assets that they have, but also play that counterpunch paintball when things start to go crazy and in inner point, when the bodies are starting to drop and you're trying to figure out, okay, we'll use that timing. I think that those are going to be the teams that prevail. So, and it's kind of wide open. I mean, it's really hard to pick a team and think, oh, okay, on this layout, I think they're going to do really well, because there is a lot that can happen out there, but we definitely are going to see some quick points for sure.
And on this field, Aftershock, the way they play, a lot of fast guys, like you said, young guys, they can play this field and get to those bunkers. I think they can do some damage out here. I really do. But again, what can they do at the end game? Can they keep focused and disciplined? And that was what killed them at the end of the year.
Yeah, for sure. Now, before we move on to the afternoon bracket, speaking of the Challengers Division, we're going to see Upton 187 crew taking on Sacramento Excessive for the first game of the day at 8:15 on Friday morning here tomorrow morning. And with that matchup right there, Excessive talking about a team with a lot to prove. And that's the interesting thing when you start breaking all these teams down. I mean, Excessive, really, that's a team that was put together over about 10 years ago now to be a superstar team, to be a winning championship caliber team. They achieved achieve that goal, and they've been in a rebuilding stage for the past couple seasons. So Rich Telford and his boys picked up a couple new guys, and they're going to be playing Upton 187 crew, who lost their best player, Nick Laval, when he went to Edmonton Impact. So again, it's going to be tough for both those teams trying to find a new form here after taking a couple. And I mean, Upton 187 crew, they still got their crew. They got the no pun intended, but they have that group of guys that they fought through divisional ranks with, and now they're back down in the Challengers division, going to try to fight their way out of it. And then Chattanooga CEP and Red Storm. Red Storm, new team from Russia with a couple guys they picked up from the States, playing Chattanooga CEP. What do you guys think about those two matchups?
Well, I think first off with 187 crew and Sacramento Excessive, first game of the season, they're both going to come out, and like you said with the 187 crew, they got a great owner, David Painter. He's really behind that team, and they got a really good following. And obviously Sacramento Excessive the same way with Todd. I think who's had more practice time? Obviously 187 crew is up in the Boston area. They've had a lot of snow. I know they came down to Texas here a few weeks ago to play Texas Storm. So we'll see how much practice they got going in against Sacramento Excessive, who I'm sure has been practicing a lot in California.
Yeah, Sacramento Excessive just got done practicing DMG. I was actually talking to Rich Telford this morning down on the field, and he said practice went really well. He said they learned a lot about the field. The field out here right now is pretty similar to what they were doing. They feel confident in what they're doing. Upton 187 has been in and out of the Challengers division, up, down. Didn't quite make it on World Cup. This is why they're still in the Challengers division. But we know that they're a team that can fight in the Champions division, and they're always going to be a tough team to play in the Challengers, one of the top teams in the Challengers division on any day. CEPs, they're fighting from tournament to tournament, it seems like. They're like living paycheck to paycheck, tournament to tournament out here. Actually raised money online to try and get themselves out here and to stay a team and stay practicing. And it's really cool to see that that they really want it that much, what they'll go through to be here. And sometimes the struggle that you go through kind of helps define how you play when you get to the event, how bad you want it in your mindset. So I think that CEP got that going for them. Plus, we watched them play in the Challengers division last year, and they actually played pretty well. They got to the top 4, I believe it was, in Chicago, and they're a team that will battle. They restructured last year a little bit. We'll see who shows up this year. I see all the time that the guys on the team are out there practicing at their local fields. Yep. And Red Storm, a new team that we saw them make a top 4 finish at last year's World Cup. So, I mean, both these Challengers games, could kind of set the tone for the day, because we're going to figure out how this field plays right away, especially in the morning with good paint. People are running and gunning everywhere on this wide open field, so it should be pretty exciting.
What would be awesome is if Red Storm will play Moscow Red Legion, because Barytnikov is on our chaos now. My bad. Had a brain, because I was thinking, I saw that, I'm like, wow, how cool would that be seeing Barytnikov play his dad, because his dad's on Red Storm.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Yeah, his dad is on Red Storm.
That's crazy. Well, let's move on to the afternoon bracket in Friday and talk about those teams we'll be throwing down there. Tampa Bay Damage, they are missing a couple players. They do not have Rumsey Al-Yusuf, who played great for them last season, really stepped up. And then also they don't have Dan Holiday, probably one of the most versatile guys in the game. Holiday's getting married, and Rumsey's in the wedding. So they're not going to be around. But Damage, they picked up Jason Wheeler. They got Dalton Vanderbilt. So Damage always looks strong. They always are a contender. They did not perform, even though they won a tournament last year. They still, when you talk to them, I mean, if they're not winning a couple of events a year, I feel like they feel like they're underperforming. Right. I wouldn't knock on them that hard. I mean, they still won a tournament last season. But I think Damage is definitely. I mean, you're a fool if you don't pick Damage as a favorite.
Absolutely, yeah. And I know they just came off of 2 big practices against Infamous this past week, and then Edmonton Impact flew down and practiced them, and I heard they had great practices. So look for Damage to definitely be tough, and with the addition of Dalton Vanderbilt on that Dorito side, that they're going to just keep moving.
Well, for Damage, Dalton Vanderbilt is a player like Daniel Holiday, and Jason Wheeler is a player a lot like Rumsey Al-Yusuf. Yep. So as far as talent level goes and positional, position-wise,
they're fine.
They're going to be fine. Jason Edwards looks like a monster. He's in better shape than he's ever been in. He's trying to play.
Which is saying something.
Yeah, he's trying to play every single point. And, this is the type of field where Jason Edwards can just turn around and gun people down off the break. So, I mean, Damage is really smart at reading situations. Chad Bougere, can see things happen and then make adjustments right away. They got Jacob Edwards back there on the field with them. They lost Rainey Stanzak to Impact, who's a player that they had last year that was really good at shooting players and reading situations. But you go down Damage's roster from top to bottom. They got wheels. They got Keith Brown that can get far up here on the snake side, or if they use him on the Doritos. Kevin Brethauer back again as coach. And Tampa Bay Damage, like you said, Matty, if they're not winning a couple tournaments, then they feel like something's wrong and they need to make adjustments. I know CJ Botsolis, the ownership, was like, I want to come stronger this year, than we ever have. So that's why he made the moves to get Wheeler and, Dalton Vanderbilt. So, with Joey Bluth there, management master GM at the helm, putting the pieces together,
they'll be fine.
Just giving these guys everything they need. They're going to be one of the top teams again in the PSP 2014 season.
And they're playing Texas Storm, who is now they've achieved their first goal, which was make it into the Champions Division. They have done that, but they have a hell of a lineup they're going to have to play
against. Welcome to the Pro Division.
Yeah, welcome to the Big Boy League, as they play Damage out the gate at 2:15, and then they have to play Texas Storm. Texas Storm has to play San Antonio X Factor, their Texas rivals, and X Factor, they were the 2013 World Cup champions. Let's talk about X Factor real quick a little bit. X Factor underperformed pretty much all season last year according to their standards, and they hadn't won a tournament in years, 5 years, but they finally came together, and that's the magic of the game. If you work hard enough,
and
one day it will roll, and you don't give up, and you're tenacious out there, one day it will roll around, and you could be,
World Cup
champions, man.
They
like
did
we
it.
said before, and they did it. So they're coming in high. They're coming in definitely feeling like they deserve to win another tournament. What if they won 2 in a row? It'd be amazing. And also on Saturday during the lunch break, we are going to have the webcast premiere. You might have already seen it already. It is online, but it's the roster episode 6. So that final redemptive episode where X Factor, after struggling all year, wins the World Cup championship. But now I think that team is going to be strong again this year. I think that they needed that confidence boost, and now that they proved that they can bang with the best, that they're going to come out this year. And I don't think we're going to see the same X Factor that we saw last season during the beginning of the year.
Look how that game went last year. They were down 3-1. It just looked like Impact was ready to just blow them off the field, and they just turned it around, win the tournament, and they brought that all the way to now. And they've been practicing hard. And with Michael Kovar's back.
Yep, they got Kovar back to
honestly,
play the snake.
San Antonio X Factor, they're World Cup champion. Everyone's got to go through those guys, and then they have to take that pressure and handle it. I think they're going to. I think they're going to be really good at this event, Todd.
Yeah, I mean, they have another roster that plays into that really fast, aggressive play. That's the way that this field layout is going to be. We are going to see so many people die on the breakout here. I'm really excited to see, after these first games, after the first day, then after the second day, how people are going to adjust to this field, because everybody plays it in practice. It's always set up a little bit different. You have those factors. Some people are, shooting different paint, been freezing in half the United States, and, people adjust how they play throughout the tournament. So, it's really going to be exciting to see how things change. And X Factor is a team that is skilled at shooting people on the break, reading situations, being aggressive. They have speed. So, I mean, X Factor, like you said, they're holding the cup right now. So, I mean, if they can put something together, the confidence is higher than ever. We're in Texas.
Right, we're in Texas. They're World Cup champs, and
this is the first place that we saw the flag
last year.
Come and take it.
Yeah.
The X Factor has that awesome on this. Anytime they go play a game, they put this Texas flag up that says "Come and take it" with a giant cannon on it.
And here they are with that coming into this event, and now we're going to see everyone's going to gun for them. Can they handle that pressure now?
That's a good point, Steve, because they haven't really had that in a while. And because when X Factor blazed through the ranks, they quickly became one of those top teams and won a couple tournaments and did well. And then they fell off after that. They didn't ever get back up to the top of that mountain. But now that they have, absolutely, man, they're coming in, and no one is going to play soft against X Factor at this event. They're going to get everyone's best game. So can they handle that? I think they can. We'll see, though. Let's move on to Edmonton Impact and Los Angeles Ironmen. Impact and Ironmen are playing against each other, 3 o'clock here, Central Time.
Infamous.
And so Impact and Infamous, we talked a little bit about Impact so far and the players that they'd gotten from different squads. They picked up Nick Laval from Upton 187. They got Rainey Stanzik. Also got Danny Park. Kind of went away from, other than Rainey's an established pro, but Nick Laval and Danny Park are still on their upward climb. But I like the pickups that they made. Bart Yakmek, their owner, very confident. He's a great owner, very supportive of his team. And I think Impact could definitely be a contender this year.
Yeah, I mean, they had a solid foundation with the Yakimek brothers, Zane and Zach, and I thought that towards the end of last year, those guys really picked up their game. I mean, they were solid. They've been solid for a long time, but kind of really took it to another level. Joshua Metz here, Justin Cornell and Justin Rabackoff. Those two guys are just straight killers on the field, and they can play anywhere up the middle, in the snake, on the Doritos. We'll see how that goes. Dave Baines is kind of leading the charge again. You know, he's kind of like their main guy, their center, their go-to guy. You know, we'll see how if he gets on the field, you know, with this layout, you know, as long as he's shooting people on the break, he's always got his spot. And, you know, I think, like I said, Rainey, I think that he is really going to have a great event on this field. The way that he can shoot, read situations, move. I think that Impact, you know, they had that solid foundation, and they picked up guys that were going to be add to their team being more solid and more versatile, you know, just to improve all the things that they did have, you know.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, instead of having, you know, a bunch of superstars all over the place, and, you know, they're just like more of a, you know, a cohesive unit, it feels like, just looking at them.
And I think with Rainey on Impact, he'll have that freedom to wheel and deal. And he's that kind of player. With Damage, they're more disciplined. They're a disciplined team. And I think Rainey on this team is going to have the opportunities to do a little wheeling and dealing over there. And we're going to find out real quick, and we're going to see on Saturday and Sunday how these stats are going to go with these guys living on the break, because that's not going to happen often here.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely going to be crazy. And you know, remember, take all this information we're giving you about, you know, who we think is going to play well on this layout, and take it to your fantasy team. You can still make some last-minute adjustments here, and pick the best team that you possibly can get, because there's a DM14 at stake. And then I'm sure if you guys have your own leagues, there might be a little something at stake there too. So let's move on to Infamous. What do you guys think about Infamous? Todd, you are very familiar with that team. Rab, you're also familiar with that team. I think we all are intimate with Infamous. I think that knowing how they did not live up to their expectations last year, and how hungry those guys are, and how much experience that they have, I think we should see a new Infamous this year. Not a lot of player changes for them, which I think is a good thing, so they can keep solidifying their line. Todd, what do you think?
Beard Gang.
Straight up Beard Gang. Absolutely. Their beard game is strong. Corey,
Yeah.
you know, speaking of pickups, though, and speaking of beards, the greatest beard in paintball right now is Corey Bornstein. And his brother Jason is on the team as well. I think those are good pickups for them. Yeah. What do you think?
I was out there watching them practice Dynasty, and it seemed like they really meshed really well on the team. I think that last year when they had Mayo and Trillett, I thought that those guys were good, but the Bornstein brothers just seem like they fit better on that team. You know, a little bit of crazy, a little bit of finesse. You know, both brothers. They have experience, and all the main Infamous guys, you know, from last year, Drew, Callie, Nikki, Bobby, Damian, seems like they've stuck together another year. Brad McCurley, and all those guys, you know, you can tell looking at them, they look like they're in great shape. Obviously, they've been putting in the work over the offseason. They've had some good practices, Dynasty, Damage. You know, they look like they're prepared. You know, they look like they're mentally focused.
And they've actually been doing a little documentary series too, the Paintball Life. Check it out on go to Brad McCurley or Damien's Facebook page, and interesting look. And basically their thing is like, okay, yeah, everyone's complaining about the weather. We don't care. We're still going to go out there and put our time in. We'll drive 3 hours to an indoor if that's what we have to do to get back to the top of the mountain and win a PSP tournament again. Because it's been 2 years. Well, it'll be 2 years next Chicago, or in the middle of the year, late June, because they did win 2012 PSP Chicago, and in an amazing game, sudden death. Brad McCurley stepped up, shot 4 Russians to win the game and that tournament. But yeah, one of the things though with Infamous is that I just love watching them play, man. That's an exciting team to watch play. They really want it, and they play, and you never know what you're going to get out of them too.
You don't.
So that's what makes it exciting. So yeah,
they're the wild in that afternoon bracket. Looking at, they're the wild card. Like Impact, Los Angeles Infamous first game, either one of those guys can win, and then they come right back and play Damage. So they're either going to go in, and that grouping right there, if you can go 1-1, that's a good start of the first day.
Yeah, so many fascinating stories here, and we are going to start finding out, who did put the work in the offseason, which teams actually do look good, who's not living up to their expectations, or who's going to surprise us. So many great stories are going to play out here this weekend for the first PSP event of the season, and then we're going to see it all year long. Guys, do you have a favorite here? Any stories you really want to see? Obviously, Todd, I don't even know why I'm asking you, Todd. Todd wants to see what Vicious is going to do.
Yeah, I really hope that we play to our potential, and come together and put something special together out here. We've had a lot of practices. I tried to get the team out to get some early practices. That's why we went to Florida, end of January, got to play Damage, came to California twice, played the Ironman. Last weekend we're in Oklahoma City for 3 days, playing against Texas Storm. So, not for a lack of work or a lack of effort. Hopefully we can come out here and put something together and do well. So,
yeah, what do you think, Rab?
For me, the story is San Antonio X Factor here. I want to see how they handle the offseason and what they did after World Cup. So for me, X Factor, pressure's on them. Everyone's gunning for them. Can they handle it? And they're in their home state. Family's here, close to home. Let's see what they do.
Yeah, so lots of crazy paintball actions coming at you this weekend here for the first PSP event of the season. We're at Cousins Paintball, and man, I can't wait to see this. And also, remember, go get a fantasy team, get in there, go to Paintball Access Fantasy, and get your own team in. Again, playing for a DM14, and also help us out, pay for the high bandwidth, or buy the pay-per-view on Sunday. We're trying to bring you the best paintball action in the world. These are the best players on planet Earth, and we're really trying to move the game forward with the statistics and everything we're doing here at Paintball Access. So help us help the sport. We need you guys out there to contribute for the price of basically a couple beers or a movie ticket. You really can help take this sport to the next level, because that's our mission. That is what we're trying to do, and we feel like we've done a good job in the past 2 seasons, and we want to keep it going. So help us help the sport. Thank you guys for tuning in here to the breakdown of Matty Marshall with Steve Rabackoff and Todd Martinez, man, and we are going to see you this weekend. It's going to be crazy. Tell all your friends across the social networks, and we will see you guys tomorrow morning.